Hello there everybody, it is me XfreezerBunny and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. Today we are building a London inspired boutique hotel. This is a functional home business. There is actually a living area on the topmost floor of this build with one bedroom, a kitchen, living room, bathroom, and even a roof deck, which I think is actually my favorite part of this build. There's also 2 guest rooms, and each guest room has its own ensuite bathroom as well. And there is also a little bar slash bistro area on the ground floor. So I've been really loving the gameplay of businesses and hobbies so far. I've done quite a bit of gameplay on this build actually. I think there's a lot you can do with the entrance fee system in terms of creating different kinds of businesses. I wish we can have more control over how much we set the entrance fees though, because even though this build did actually make quite a bit of money from when I was playing it, it'd be nice to be able to have more control over the entrance fees that we set. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this build turned out. Like I said, I did quite a bit of gameplay for this, and we are also building this in this section of Nordhaven, which is the new world that came with businesses and hobbies. I am saying it like that because if you saw my previous builds, I did call it hobbies and businesses. Not gonna lie, I was not really paying attention that much. I was kind of on autopilot for that recording because I actually recorded that after work. It was on a work day actually, but I got early access to businesses and hobbies. And I was like, you know what? I finished this build. I might as well do a recording right now. On the day I did the recording, by the way, really sorry about all the noise because there is a vehicle passing by outside. But on the day I did that recording, I actually had 2 meetings, and I was also going to be attending a work seminar. Or no, it was a work summit the day after. So I was really stressed and under pressured and also really tired because I recorded that after a long day at work. So thank you guys for not actually pointing that out, because sometimes people can be harsh and people can like point out your mistakes. But yeah, that video has like 3,000 views now, and so far nobody's called me out on it, so thank you for being nice. But yeah, you guys can actually see me play around with the wallpaper for this build, because initially this wasn't supposed to be a London inspired build. It just really became that because I ended up choosing this wallpaper. I believe it's from Glimmerbrook. What was the pack that came with again? Realm of Magic. There we go. I ended up using that wallpaper from Realm of Magic, and it just reminded me of London for some reason. I also considered using kind of like more of a lighter plaster wallpaper color, and that kind of reminded me more of like a French style build, but I ended up going for the brick because I feel like it just fit in a little bit better in this area of Nordhaven. And I gotta say, I do love this area of Nordhaven because I feel like the ocean just looks so beautiful. There's this little area where you can actually swim in, and it has like this little mermaid statue. And I think the water is just so gorgeous. Probably one of the most beautiful water in game, because I'm not a huge fan of like the Gatorade looking water, which is unfortunately what we get for most of the game. Not really a huge fan of the cartoony style, even though I've kind of warmed up to it. I think I prefer kind of like the more realistic, or like not necessarily super hyper realistic, but maybe a more stylized realistic look. And that's always the style that I go for in most of my builds. Also, by the way, this build uses the curved walls feature, which we don't really see a lot of in the channel. I think I did a lighthouse build when we first implemented curved walls back in like 2022 when high school years came out. And I think that's the only time I used curved walls. But I was able to use it in this build because it's more of like a corner lot kind of vibe. And I think it looks really good. I used those windows from Lovestruck and I think they were perfect. I wasn't able to do a build for Lovestruck actually because I was adjusting to my new job at the time. And I just wasn't super excited about the gameplay for Lovestruck, even though I do love some of the new build and buy items. I love the windows, and kudos to The Sims actually for making curved versions of those windows. We don't really see that a lot in newer packs. I feel like they should actually, because I feel like I would use the curved walls feature more. But yeah, what do you guys think about the new windows that came with businesses and hobbies? Because I'm not sure how I feel about them. They're probably more authentic to how, you know, traditional Scandinavian architecture looks like. But yeah, I just find it really hard to work with those. I would have used them if they had better swatches though, but I just felt like the swatches for the new doors and windows are just very difficult to work with if you're going for kind of like that more realistic vibe. Not that there's anything wrong with like kind of like the more cartoony vibe, but I was just going for kind of like a more realistic vibe for this build. But here we are actually working on kind of like the roof deck area. And as I was working on this, I couldn't stop thinking about this one location in the Herbs, actually. If you guys remember Herbs Sims in the City, it was the console version of The Sims from back in like the PS2 era. I did play it back then, and this section of the build reminded me so much of a place in that game called Skyline Beach. So you guys will see later on, I actually do add like a kiddie pool because it just reminded me of that area. And I don't know, it just made me really nostalgic for Herbs. I do feel like the console era of The Sims is like such an untapped resource because those games actually introduced a lot of really, really good mechanics to the franchise actually. And it's kind of sad that those new mechanics just aren't being implemented in newer games, because I feel like the Herbs is honestly like one of the best city lifestyle versions of The Sims. And I can say the same for Sims 2 Castaway on console actually. I think that is probably one of the best island experiences because of the crafting aspect. I thought being able to craft your own houses and being able to maintain those, because you build thatched houses in Castaway and you had to maintain the roof, or not the roof, the walls. If there was a storm, your walls would get damaged and you had to maintain them, and that was really, really realistic in my opinion. And it kind of sucks that they don't get to implement those kinds of gameplays in, you know, more recent releases. But you know, I feel like with this whole trend of nostalgia, they're probably gonna get to it to some point, or maybe just re-release it. I would totally pay for it to be able to play it on like modern consoles. I would love to see it. But here we are just adding in some exterior items to, you know, make this feel a little bit more decorated, you know, make this feel more lively, like it's in the center of kind of like this very hipstery section of London. That's kind of like the thought process that went behind that. Not much landscaping in this build because it's supposed to be kind of like in an urban area, but I did really like a lot of the new show hidden objects items. But yeah, we do have a new bike rack, which is pretty cool because I feel like the community has been struggling with like what to use for bike racks for the longest time. So I'm really happy that we got some new ones. And here we are actually using items from the Cozy Bistro pack. Yeah, I wasn't able to use this when it first came out, but I feel like it fit in perfectly with the vibe that I went with for this build. I have been watching quite a lot of The Hotel Inspector, which is a British show. I've been watching it for many, many years now. You can easily find episodes on YouTube. And oftentimes there would be these kind of like bed and breakfasts actually. And sometimes they would be attached to like a bar or like a pub. And that's where the guests would have their breakfast. And that's kind of like the concept that I thought of in this boutique hotel, like the guests can stay in one of the guest rooms and they can have their breakfasts and meals in this kind of like bar slash bistro area. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I did test it out and it does actually work. Like you can set all of the different activities for the Sims. You can make them, go to sleep in this place and also, take baths and stuff. And you can also make them get drinks at the bar and all of that stuff. And I also hired like a barista for this. Actually, the hiring of employees for this pack is a little bit off to me because you don't put out like an advertisement as far as I know. Like if you want to hire somebody who works here, you have to know them personally, and it's kind of weird because normally you would put out an ad to hire employees for your business, right? Or I don't know, you would use the phone or something. That doesn't work actually from when I tested out the gameplay. Maybe it gets patched in or something, because I did see that there was yet another new patch coming for this pack. Honestly, I feel like we've had like 2 or 3 updates since this thing came out. It's crazy at this point. But yeah, I thought the hiring of employees felt a little bit off because you had to kind of like know them personally. And I feel like the pack was kind of designed so that you would use your family members first as employees, if that makes sense. Because yeah, it's actually really hard to coordinate with an employee that's not part of your household, because even though I think you can run your business for like 24/7. I didn't try it out because I really wanted like daily updates for how my business was doing, and you can't coordinate that because you can ask your employee to like leave early. That is an option, but you can't automate that, like what time they're leaving or like your like work hours. I haven't seen an option for us to automate that, so you always have to constantly click on the open and close business option. And to me, that was just like so much work to do on a daily basis. And like I said, I wanted like the daily updates to come in. So running this as a boutique hotel, and having to close it at like 10 p.m. in the Sims time kind of just felt weird, because ideally we would be able to just run this 24/7 and have employees come in and out in shifts, and it'll give us daily updates without having to close the business. But there's no way to trigger the daily updates without having to close the daily business, which is really weird to me. Gameplay wise, like I said, it doesn't really have a lot of customizability. The business aspect doesn't really have a lot of depth to it, but it does come at a trade-off of being able to live in your business. So I'm willing to live with it, because I am actually having a lot of fun living on this lot and just looking at the Sims doing their thing, looking at the guest Sims doing the customers, of course, doing their thing. I couldn't find the right words there for some reason, but I did actually notice like some glitches where Sims would go into areas that are set for employees only, which is quite weird. I hope they fix that. But other than that, it's been working fine for me. Hopefully this doesn't break in the future like what happened with For Rent, because I feel like For Rent was out for like years until like people's save files started to get corrupted. I don't know. I haven't been really keeping up with Sims news that much, just because I've been so busy with my full-time job. As you guys know, I recently got a promotion, and earlier this year we also had a new hire. So we are currently like adjusting our workflow for our new employees, and there is already starting to be some conflict between my team members. I received an email from one of my team members about the new hire, and it's fine. It's something that can easily be resolved, but we were definitely going through like an adjustment period when she was like starting off. Yeah, it's fine though. I think we're starting to get used to each other's workflow now. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to update you guys on my personal life because nothing much has been really happening. In the past year, I have reconnected with friends that I literally have no contact with for like the past 5 years. So I was able to reconnect with them, I guess, in December. Well, that was for one group of friends, and for the other group of friends, I was able to like reconnect with them earlier last year, around like May-ish or like April. I think March of last year actually. So yeah, it's really nice to be able to reconnect with people and catch up with them. And we did go through architectural school together, so we went through like the worst parts of our life, I think, in terms of like how our mental health was. And I think when you're in college in like architectural school, you really need like that emotional support, and we were there for each other to provide that, I guess. I remember I lived near to where my school is, and a lot of my friends would stay over at my place because the commute from home to our school for some of my classmates was pretty terrible. And I was able to reconnect with some of those college friends. We were kind of in contact with, we have like a group chat on Facebook or something, but we haven't seen each other since like the pandemic started. So it was fun. We went to like a road trip and stuff like that, so it was pretty cool. I want to know how you guys have been doing. I feel like now that my life has kind of like had some sort of stability, I can start, being more active here on the channel right now. I don't know, I can't really make those kinds of promises because anything can change with my job. Like I might get assigned to like a new project. I am handling like multiple projects right now, so it's a bit overwhelming. I also have a team to follow up on and to guide basically. So it's a lot of work for me. It's definitely a lot of responsibility, but that's life. I don't have anything profound to say other than just keep pushing and try to improve. Try to strive for self-improvement is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that's a little life update segment for you guys. But yeah, we are now furnishing the guest rooms, and as you can see, it's a little bit more of a serious vibe, I guess. Very modern, kind of like very, I don't want to say business hotel, but it's kind of that. I do think that the modern items that came with this pack lend themselves really well to these. And there is one bedroom that has 2 single beds, and there's another bedroom that has 1 double bed. And yeah, I really struggled with the layout for this actually, and I think it turned out looking pretty okay. That's kind of the thing with business hotels anyway, is that they're kind of like a more personalized experience, or I want to say intimate, but that's gonna make it sound really weird and something that I'm not going for. But it's not a love hotel basically is what I'm trying to say. But if you're going to like a boutique hotel, you have kind of like this more personalized experience in a sense that you're not staying at like a large hotel where you're just another guest. So yeah, I tried to kind of capture that sense of intimacy in this build, I guess. Not that I've stayed in like a business hotel or anything. I have, honestly, I feel like I've experienced like the worst hotel. It's not even a hotel, it's kind of like a hostel kind of thing. Back in 2019, when I had more time, I went on a road trip with a bunch of my high school friends to the north of my country. There's like this very popular kind of like surfing area. I can't swim, by the way, so I don't know why I even joined this road trip, but it was a road trip with a bunch of my high school friends. We just graduated, we were young professionals, and let's go on this road trip. This area of the country also kind of had like this bohemian vibe, so it was pretty cool back in the day. And we stayed in literally the worst hostel ever, because it was kind of like it wasn't the best. They didn't have like the best amenities. Like the rooms had like no air conditioning. I was aware of this, by the way, before we went there, so it's fine. This isn't the worst part. But just to give you guys an idea, the rooms had like no air conditioning. It was open air, so there was like bugs everywhere. It was fine. The beds weren't the most comfortable thing. I had to sleep on like a bamboo slat kind of thing. But yeah, the worst part is that we had a nice kind of like group bedroom at first, because it had like a bunk bed with like an actual mattress and stuff like that. It had like a ceiling fan, so it had some sort of ventilation. But on our like second, we were there for like multiple days. On our second night, the people at this place resort asked us to transfer to like a different cabana type thing. I'm making it sound better than it actually was. It was like this bamboo cottage type thing. They asked us to leave the place that we booked at for this other place because they booked the group bedroom for a different group that was coming in for the next 2 days that we were there. So you get this thing that you didn't sign up for. And yeah, this other group is going to take over the thing that you booked in advance for. That was really annoying. You know, the whole thing about it being open air isn't the thing that sucked, because I knew that was going to be a thing from the very beginning. I did not appreciate the fact that they asked us to leave the place that we booked at, like in the middle of like just randomly. Like we woke up on our like second day there and they're like, oh, sorry, we booked this place, you have to move now. I really did not appreciate that. I was seriously considering just booking into a different hotel at that point, but I decided to stuck it out because all of my other friends decided to just stick it out as well. I don't think they cared as much as I did, but I didn't appreciate the fact that they asked us to leave. It was a whole battle of principles or whatever. But yeah, that road trip went really well. We also went on this hike, which we kind of got scammed as well, because we were like very ill-advised by the people we hired to take us as a guide. Basically, they were like, oh, you want to take this road? Okay, we can guide you there. This is how much you're going to be paying us. We were not informed that there was actually like an easy mode to this hike, so I was like really unprepared, you guys. They were like, it's gonna be like a 20-minute hike. It really wasn't. I was wearing Crocs. Oh no, I was wearing like Birkenstocks. Like, oh my gosh. It was like this rocky path to a waterfall. It took us like 2 hours to get to the freaking waterfall. And yeah, it was just, I actually almost died. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was like on the verge of death because I was so unprepared. And it was really hot as well. Like, I did not sign up for this. But yeah, like I said, I stuck it out. Really proud of myself for sticking it out. But honestly, I'm not gonna let that happen to me again. I would happily pay money for better amenities and honestly just better services, because I really did not like the fact that they asked us to leave like in the middle of our stay, and they made us stay in this like bamboo hut basically with like, they had like no mattress as well, so I had to sleep on like this bamboo slatted shelf basically cottage, and I just had like, you know, a blanket, and you know, like this bamboo thing had like stuff that was poking me in the wrong places. It was really awful. But anyway, now that we have that rant out of the way, you guys just saw me furnish the guest rooms. Like I said, pretty serious. Very much the opposite of what I was going for with, or like not necessarily what I was going for, because I didn't know it was going to be like that when I was furnishing the downstairs guest rooms. But the upstairs ended up being a little bit more laid back. There's kind of like some bohemian vibes over here with the furniture pieces that I chose, and it honestly looks kind of different from a lot of the interiors that I've done before. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. Actually, is this character development? I did have comments from people from like way back in the day telling me that all of my interiors look the same. I mean, it's like the same guy who did the design, to be fair, which is me. So if it looks the same, then it just comes from the same voice pretty much. But yeah, this is a little, it's still me, I think, but a little bit different as well, you know. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. I didn't realize that black and kind of like this boho chic vibe went well with more of like this industrial gray vibes, but I think it looked really cool actually. That love seat and that table is actually from high school years, and the wallpaper here, which I use all throughout this build, is from Eco Lifestyle. Also, I totally talked over it, but the lobby, I do actually change the lobby because I wasn't happy with how it turned out, but I do change things around like after I recorded this build. And the kitchen also wasn't functional at first for some reason. The kitchen that came with, not the kitchen, the stove that came with Dream Home Decorator doesn't work, so I did actually change that, because when I was playtesting this, the sim would get stuck and they would not use the stove that was on the counter. So I just ended up using a stove from Parenthood instead, and I just moved things around because I was really lacking in the counter space. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the kitchen and living area. There's no dining room, but it's fine. Once again, I am using the bed from Businesses and Hobbies because I feel like that bed just looked really good, and for once they gave us some pretty good swatches. Yeah, honestly, I feel like it's easier to furnish smaller rooms because I'm just used to doing this problem solving, I guess. I work with a lot of floor plans in my life, if you can't tell, in my full-time job. So I'm just used to like, you know, problem solving with like limited space all the time. And also I feel like when a room gets too big, it starts to feel like there's no human scale. Like, you know, you guys got what I mean? There's like no intimacy, I guess, or coziness. I'm starting to get tired of that word because like cozy seems to be like the buzzword for like the past few months, maybe even the past year. But yeah, you guys got what I mean. Like when a room gets too big, it starts to feel a bit like out of scale, I guess. And yeah, I was really happy with how this room turned out. Also, once again, kind of a little bit of a different layout from, you know, what I usually do, but still full of personality. And honestly, this whole upstairs living area, I don't want to call it an apartment unit because I don't want people to get the wrong idea that this requires like for rent to work. I don't know if, yeah, I'm pretty sure apartments don't work with Businesses and Hobbies because I actually haven't tried it yet, but I don't see why it would. But yeah, there's this upstairs area, and I feel like it does actually capture my personality to a T. Like I would love to live here. I kind of just furnish it for somebody who has a very similar personality to myself, very laid back, very easygoing in real life, and also somebody who's like very into gaming and into anime as well. So there's a very nice computer setup, way nicer than what I actually have, but there are some kind of like anime posters in here as well, and also some like gaming related stuff over here. I don't collect vinyls though. I did think about getting into vinyl collection like back in like the middle of the pandemic. Thankfully I did not, because once again, I really do not want to get into another really expensive hobbies. I'm already collecting a lot of stuff right now, and I don't really want to get into collecting vinyls as well, because when I collect stuff, I do it seriously, and I know that collecting vinyls involves getting like a proper like vinyl player that doesn't damage your vinyls, and those can be very expensive. I actually looked into this. Like I said, I was actually considering collecting vinyls, and yeah, those are like really expensive. Don't get like one of those suitcase ones that are really cheap. I saw like a suitcase one being advertised where I'm from, and I was like, this is really cheap. Vinyl collecting sounds really cool. Yeah, I feel like those are a scam because apparently those actually damage your vinyls, so stay away from those. But anyway, we are now furnishing the upstairs kind of like roof deck area, and as you can see, there is a laundry area over here. You do need laundry day for this to work. I always forget to add a hamper, so I did throw in one in the living room right there. But I'm also using this little kiddie pool actually that came with Seasons. Sorry, there's a motorcycle passing by outside and it's making so much noise. But yeah, I used this kiddie pool from Seasons, and this is actually usable by adult Sims. I thought they were only usable by Sims who had like the playful trait or something like that at first, but yeah, the Sims can actually lounge on this. So I went for this because I would have used like just a random lounge chair instead of that one, but I thought the kiddie pool was like a lot more fun. And as for the laundry, I've been really loving the laundry gameplay as well. I almost always play with laundry gameplay, so I'm really happy to include that in this build as well. So on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up right here. Kind of a weird place to end it, speaking about laundry, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this build. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Kind of a longer build for me today, but yeah, there's a lot to cover for this one, definitely. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. You all have an awesome day. Enjoy the rest of the video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.